Peace and love, family. Peace and love. Thank you for tapping in. What if God is a serpent? I go by the name Pushy Push. If you're interested in thought provoking content, please drop a like and subscribe. But let's jump into this one, family. I've been looking at the word God, and the word to me is universal. Um, I compare that word God to what I believe the Most High is. So I don't believe the God that I believe in or the Most High I believe in is flesh, and I've seen where the God in the Bible seems to be of flesh of say worldly desires. So it makes me feel like it's more like a man than like a God, and it just carries a title. So what we're going to look at is the difference between, you know, the Most High that I believe exists versus the one that is taught inside of the Bible, which is the Yahweh God. So it says right here in the scriptures, so God created man in his own image. It says, in the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So I believe that a man is a male and a female. It says to the right, so God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So they're using the Genesis 1:27 on both. And to me, this is what I consider a changing of the writing of the scriptures. Like, I believe a man is a male and a female, and I believe a human is a hybrid of man. So we've been taught in our society to accept ourselves as being humans underneath that title right there. But I see us as different. So I believe that there are more than one species that exists like it exists amongst us. So we're going to look at that right there. Human beings. Right here to the left, it says the word tani, and this word is translated from a Hebrew text. So if you look it up, you would have to translate it from a Hebrew Bible. But the word tani translates to sea monster. It translates to dragon. It translates to serpent. It translates to whale. So the word tani means creatures that come from the ocean. If we look to the right, it says Bellington's Law Dictionary, 1948. Human beings, as definition, is defined as a sea monster. It says a monster is defined a human being by birth, but in some part resembling a lower animal. So a sea monster is a human. If we look to the left at that Tani word right there, a sea monster in the Old Testament is something that comes out of the water, a dragon and a serpent. So they're saying that a human is mixed with something that comes out the water. A human is a sea monster. So it's a half man mixed with something from the water. It says a human being by birth, but in some part resembling a lower animal. So when you look right here, especially the coin in the middle, that is what it's describing. A human being that looks like a man, but it has the lower parts of an animal. So I've realized that you have different creations. You have creations where something has taken the DNA of man and mixed it with the creatures of the ocean, and something has taken the DNA of man and mixed it with the fowls of the land, say like a goat or a sheep man. But that is what a human is. A human is a sea monster. It is a hybrid man something that walks the land that carries the DNA of something out of the water. Makes me feel like all fish are reptile. But if you go back up, you relook at that scripture right there to the right, it says, so God created human beings. If you use the definition human being, then it would say, so God created sea monsters in his own image. If that's the case, then it would make me ask, is the God in the Bible a serpent? Because the word human means sea monster. So it's literally saying, so God created sea monsters in his own image. So is that another species placing that word right there? If you look, the word sea monster is a serpent. So God created the serpent in his own image. So God created the dragon in his own image. The ancient word for sea monster in Hebrew is dragon and serpent. And a human is a sea monster. So it's someone who's mixed with the creatures of the water. So that is like what makes me ask, is the God in the Bible a serpent? And these right here are humans. They now walk on land. And you have people who I guess have fish DNA in them, and you have people who have, the fowls of the land DNA in them. And it seems to me that they are created by this Yahweh. This is an interesting piece. I was looking inside of Jasher, and it says right here, content. It describes God creating the serpent along with other creatures, and the serpent then coming to the first human. So if we use that definition right there for human, this gets interesting. It says it describes God creating the serpent. So down below, either he created snakes on the ground, or it's talking about serpent hybrid people. Those are the ones that are being created. Like the one in the middle, he has the caduceus above his head, two snakes. That is a serpent right there. That is a human. That is a hybrid right there. So it says, and it says God described creating the serpent along with other creatures. And it says, and the serpent then coming to the first human or the first sea monster. That play right there. We cannot use that word human because it already has a definition. And that definition means sea monsters. So when I read this, this is like one creation coming to fight another creation. Like, say, the Yahweh created the serpent, and then it turns around and it creates another being, and these two fight each other. That is what I feel like I'm looking at right there. But it gets a little bit deeper when you go into Numbers. So the fiery serpent, so like say an angry serpent. In Numbers 21, it says the Israelites complained against the God during their journey through the wilderness. So if you can imagine them saying like, Yahweh, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm hot. It says, as a punishment, the God sent venomous, fiery serpents to bite the people. So angry serpents to bite the people. I had a pushback on this right here. When you look at the Israelite story, they were taken from captivity. Well, I thought when they left, they were free people, like they could go wherever they wanted to go, but they chose to stay with this in particular God. So when I see the God killing the people because they're requesting, resources because, they're out in the middle of the desert and they get killed, that doesn't make me feel like they are being saved. It makes me feel like they're captive. So This changes my idea right there because it says it sent fiery serpents. So do you think they sent serpents out the ground, or are they sending beings to them and they had serpents come and kill them? Hybrid people come and fight them. It says in the next part, the bronze serpent. The people repented and asked Moses to pray for them. And it says, God then instructed Moses to make an image of a fiery serpent, an angry serpent, out of bronze and put it on a pole. The very creature that just killed them, the God has told Moses to put an image of that creature on a pole. So to put an angry serpent face on a pole. And then it says the healing. Anyone who is bitten by a snake could, like it's an option, look at the bronze serpent and be healed. So the very thing that killed them, they were instructed to make an image of. And if you're telling them to look at it and it will heal them, then you're telling the people that they have to praise the serpent image, the fiery image. The God, the Yahweh, is telling Moses to praise the serpent image, the snake image. Again, this is why I ask, is the God in the Bible a serpent? Because he's telling Moses to have everyone praise the serpent. Well, the serpent just killed them for asking for water. We got to really look at how wordplay is. I think that the Yahweh is possibly a serpent. If we look at the image to the left, there's the snake on the pole. That is the image that Moses was instructed to make. But as we know, this is not a healing stick. It did not heal anyone. If we go back up, it said that for just asking for anything, serpents were sent out to kill the Israelites. So the stick didn't heal. What the stick did was show that if you praise the snake people, then the snake people won't come and attack you anymore. That's what that stick showed right there. So I don't see it as being of any healing at all. And you can see that it has changed. So when you see two snakes around it, this is like DNA. This is snake DNA of hybrids. This has nothing to do with healing. If you look to the right, there is a snake on a pole, like the image Moses made, and then there's a crown on top. That crown shows that there is a serpent king. So if we go back, those are dragon kings right there below. So that is that image. And they were being forced to praise a serpent. If you look to the bottom left right there, there's two hands. And now you see that there's two wrapped around the pole. And if you look to the right, there's bird wings now attached to that. So the snake's on top, birds on the bottom. And then the conduces look again, bird on top, snake on the bottom. But if you look at the Egyptian picture to the right, you're looking at that whole image right there. There's the snake with the wings, the snake with the wings. So we're talking about a species. And I think the Yahweh has created its own species, and it has taken the Israelites and has forced them to praise the serpent God. And I think Yahweh is a serpent God. If we look right here, this is how you know that they are people who carry a DNA. Like the technology was there at that time to blend, the creatures from the sea into human or man blood, and to take the animal of the land and mix it into man blood and make all types of hybrid people, which we are calling today humans. The two snakes right there, they're in the same position as the lady. She's in that same position. So she is a hybrid. She is a hybrid. So the fiery snake that came to the Israelites were people who look like man, and they forced them to praise the serpent. And you look at that, if you look at that image right here, this is Serapius. This is kind of like what they were forced to praise. And this is what the Yahweh and all of them are. They are possibly, reptilian people. And this is very, very deep right here. But if we go back up, the fiery snakes, I believe those are beings. And I believe that the Israelites were being attacked by the very thing that was supposed to be protecting them. And then I believe that they were instructed to praise a serpent on a stick. And up until today, that is our medical symbol. And whether if we like it or not, we praise that very serpent that attacked the Israelites. And that is what this is. There are hybrids out there. And I'm asking again, is Yahweh a serpent? Did he create hybrid beings to rule over man? When we get to this part right here, this is what makes the Yahweh appear to be, worldly, in my opinion. It says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine, said the Lord of hosts. I've had this thought, like when you're a kid and you play in the mud, you'll make a mud pie for your parent and you'll try to give it to your parent, and your parent will look, and of course they're not going to take that mud pie, but they know your sincerity and they'll tell you, no, you keep it. I kind of feel that way when it comes to the Most High, to that which I believe in. If I go and I take gold and I mold it up and I try to give it to the Most High, I feel like the same thing could be told to me. It will know that my intentions are well, but where the Most High is, you can't take nothing from this world. So that very God would tell me to keep it. It would tell me to keep your image that you created right there. Because when you pass out this world, you can't take any of it with you. So when I look at this verse right here, the silver is mine, the gold is mine, that makes me feel like the Yahweh is worldly. It's more than one man. It's something that can possibly die itself. It's possibly something that's trying to avoid death itself, like every other living creature. When we look at that coin right there, it sits out because it shows the Yahweh in a spaceship or a airship. And all I'm saying is to make a clone of anything, you have to have technology. To collect gold and silver, you have to have technology to dig in the ground to go and get it. And to care about silver and gold shows that you, as a God, is connected to economy. So that makes you worldly to me. That doesn't make this Yahweh the same as how I see the Most High. So I feel like I'm dealing with a hybrid man who lives like man in the world. There is no image of Yahweh, only signs and symbols. So I believe that this coin right here on the left, the gold one, is like a sign to let you know that the Yahweh is a being, is a man, or is many men, or even possibly that name is a title. If you look, it is a man inside of a cloud. You can see the triangle over his head, bombing the city below. But if you look at the coin to the right, it's symbolic. The coin on the right has the exact same thing. It has the ability to cloak itself like a cloud. So I believe somewhere in the past, they've tried to tell what this Yahweh is, but, it's been blotted out from books. So this is how you end up finding images like this on a coin. But if you put all of this together, you have an interesting piece right here, because the man with the triangle over his head, see down below with the snake down there, that is a triangle, and it's up in the cloud or up in the sky with the bright light. And he has a bright light above his head. So that's telling me that the Yahweh is on the coin. That triangle belongs to the Yahweh, belongs to the serpent man. If you look at the clouded ship, it is the exact same thing that the Yahweh is. So it's telling you it's a man who is possibly a hybrid who uses technology to move to and fro in the earth. And when you look at the coin below, there's a thunderbolt that's going down. So the Yahweh struck the head of the serpent. So it only punished its own kind for attacking the people in the world. And if you see down below, there's a Messianic symbol. So all these bloodlines are connected to secret societies. And these secret societies, to me, even if they're not hybrids, they praise hybrids. Like, I believe that these hybrids are running our government, and they use man, regular people, and themselves to run the world. And it's quite possibly these beings are coming from below, like the Agartha, you know. So I feel like we're having to look at this in a bigger manner. You know, we're taught to in the Bible that this is the God that created everything. And I feel like I'm looking at a being who has forced everyone to praise it as a God, like the Israelites are being punished in the wilderness for wanting water. And he sends serpent people to come and kill them, and then tell them to make an image of the serpent and then praise it. That is the Yahweh right there. And that is the symbols that you're seeing on this coin right here. So ultimately, I come to the conclusion, because you see, that's the Yahweh name right there on the coin to the right. And then you see the snake on the left, that he is a serpent. Like that God inside of that book is a serpent man, and it has created hybrids, and it uses hybrids to control. So we might want to think about when we say, like, say, Israel is the holy people. Well, they might be the enslaved people, because in these scriptures it's talking about they were being killed off if they didn't praise the serpent. They were literally given a staff with a fiery or angry serpent on the staff. So that is something to really, really consider right there. Is the Yahweh a serpent? What signs do we need right there to understand that, outside of the very creature coming and we physically fighting with it? So I can definitely tell you that this next video is going to be interesting, because I believe that these creatures right here have something to do with the flooding of the world. Like, I know, like in the book of Enoch, there's a way that the story is written, but I kind of feel like the floods might be more premeditated, as in you've had a species trying to always wipe us out and hasn't been always able to do that. And this is the reason why it's in power over us, is because it's used, you know, disasters to take out the vast part of the world. I believe that there was a real battle from the things that are below with the things that are above. And quite possibly the things that are above has gotten the upper hand, because the people praise Yahweh. And I think Yahweh is a serpent God. So with that one, family, I definitely appreciate you watching this far. Definitely tune in to the next one. You know, we're going to dig into this right here. All I can say is, if the scriptures is real, then it will be able to test any challenge. And so far, what I'm seeing is a book that might have been vastly altered from maybe its original script. So with that, family, thank you. And till the next time, thank you.